of the minutes. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. So the minutes are approved. Let's go to some new legislation. Authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and if granted, to enter into an agreement or agreements with the water supply revolving loan account for a water supply capital improvement project and declaring an emergency. And we have Mr. Luddle here today to explain a little bit what this means. And there is a surprise in it that I was very pleased with personally, and I think a lot of you will also be. So, Mr. Luddle?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. As you read the legislation, this will allow the mayor to enter an agreement with Ohio EPA and the revolving load fund. This is $47,000 loan over 5 years at 0% interest. We've got the legislation that says we're doing an electrical load enhancement study. So what does that mean? What that means is we are looking at the feasibility of going to solar power at the watershed. Okay, whether it's all or part, we're gonna do this study and look at the business case. As you know, we have pretty much constant volume equipment up there. We're pumping 35 million gallons a day, and it's over an average 365 days. We use over 1.1 million kilowatt hours a month up there. So what does that mean? That means about $80,000 a month of electric costs. Okay, so we are going to look at, and we own quite a bit of land, but we have, a lot of it has, it's wooded, obviously, which is good for the carbon credits. But when you look at our mass of the lake and how big it is, we're going to look at the feasibility of putting these solar panels right on the lake, which obviously it will help with no trees being able to block the sunlight for these to work. But also what it does, and it's been proven, that it will reduce the sunlight on the lake, which this year our water temperatures were over 80 degrees. And when they get that warm, it was a very sunny and hot summer, that breeds algae. Okay, so if this would come to fruition, it would help that reduce that sunlight onto the lake, which would help cool the lake. It also it will reduce evaporation. So if any of you own a pool, or anybody who owns a pool, as that water temperature gets warmer, you have to put more chemicals in. Chlorine, it will reduce quicker in warmer water. So this year we had to use more chemicals, whether it's powder activated carbon, as we've brought before council, and you've passed legislation to help with the algae, the taste and odor, but the chlorine's the big thing, the disinfection. So that's what this grant will allow us to do. There's a company out of Cleveland that we're looking at, smartcitysolar.net is the company we're looking to do this study with us. And with that, I will take any questions.
That's really great that the city is at least taking a look at the possibility of using solar power. That keeps us in line with what other modern cities are starting to do. Really appreciate that.
Well, Mayor Horgan, from day one, he's always, obviously lighting, LED lighting. How can we reduce? Well, LED lighting not only uses a lot less power, it's a lot brighter light. And when you're talking about security in our neighborhoods, LED lighting and solar, how can we leverage solar in our buildings? So this is the first step that we will look at this, and we will give you updates as the study progresses.
That's great. Do any other committee members have a question? Mrs. Samples?
Thank you, Mr. Swirsky. Chris, so you said a study. So when they're doing the study, how long will the study last for? And during the study, will there be more like a pilot thing where they're gonna put some solars up to see how it works? Or they're just doing an observation?
No, I think they know how they work. I can get that information for you on how long it's going to take. But I would say it's going to take a few years just because they have to look at our power consumption, in which we have pretty good records. I mean, all of you have heard Tom Smith. I mean, Tom Smith is, he's going to be heavily involved in this study. I hope he doesn't retire because we leverage him from our steam plant to our wastewater plant all the way up into the watershed. So Tom will be heavily involved. Jeff Bernowski, Jessica Locheski up at the watershed, they will all be very heavily involved in this. So I think what they're going to be looking at, Tara, is, on what kind of battery building will you'll need, because obviously you're going to be storing all this energy in batteries. Are we going to be able to put enough out there for our own needs, or is there a possibility, would we be able to produce more? And then if we could produce more, can we sell it? There's a couple options that, just kicking around some things. There could be zero cost to us, but then they own it and then they sell us power at a reduced rate. Well, right now per kilowatt, we're paying 0.675. So, that's less than, that's 6.75 cents per kilowatt, 0.65. So that's why it comes out to like $80,000 a month. So there's a lot, and I'm obviously no expert on it, but this is going to take a few years, but we can update you guys as things progress.
Thank you. This is wonderful news. If you could just keep us in a loop, I'd definitely appreciate it.
Sure.
Yes, I agree with Mrs. Samples saying, I'm sure you're going to do that. Other committee members have questions or comments. Mr. Freeman.
Chris, is there, for us, is there any place that we can maybe go out online and look at any other municipalities that have done something like this?
Sure. I'll send you guys a link. Yep. Another water supply that did it.
Great. Other committee members have questions, comments. Council members who are not committee members, comments or questions.
I'm not sure if you can see that Councilman Malik has his hand raised.
No, I can't see it. I saw him and I looked to him to see, thinking he might, but go ahead, Councilman Malik.
Sorry, I was using the raise hand feature. Yeah,
well, it didn't show up on my screen.
Well, we've got to take that up with.
I just mastered that a couple hours ago.
We're going to have to reach out to Zoom corporate. But Mr. Ludlow, just wanted to say that, again, as with the last thing, really appreciate the thoughtfulness and the innovative thinking coming out of the service department. We talk about Mr. Smith, Mr. Bernowski, Ms. Klocheski. These are all people who are constantly thinking innovatively about how to leverage our resources, how to, be more environmentally sound and deliver better services. So we just really appreciate it so much.
Thank you for those comments.
Yes, those are good comments. Other council members want to ask a question or make a comment? Saying all the wonderful things about this project, we still have to be a bit cautious. So is there a motion, because it has a lot of moving parts to it, is there a motion for consent so that in case we just come up with what about this or what about that? So is that okay with you, Mr. Ludlow, that it's consent?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
I'll make a motion.
okay, Ms. Samples makes a motion for consent. And Mr. Malik, anybody else want to second it? You can't. So who would like to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, whoever did, good job.
Connor.
Okay. Connor, okay, thank you, Connor. Yeah, thanks. So with that, then,
Want to ask for a vote, Mr. Chair?
yeah, we'll have a vote on it. So do you want to do roll call?
Sure.
Ms. Viviano? Okay.
Sure. Swirsky?
Yes.
Freeman?
Aye.
Connor?
Aye.
Samples? McKittrick?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and that's the only legislation before us. So I hope everyone is around for the next few meetings and then can enjoy the wonderful Akron weather today. Yeah. Thank you.
Our next committee meeting today will be at 3 o'clock, and that'll be the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Those committee members are Freeman, Amobian, Malik, Baylor, and Lombardo. We have just about 5 minutes. We'll get started. Thanks.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, Sarah, are we live?
We are.
Okay, very good. Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. and we'll call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Freeman,
Aye.
Amobian,
Here.
Malik,
Here.
Baylor,
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
All committee members are present.
Very good. All members are present. If I could have a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We have one item on the old agenda, and we will continue to take time. We have 3 items on our new agenda. The first item is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance or his designee to pay $15,000 for an operating subsidy to Cascade Locks Park Association in order to support the maintenance of Cascade Locks, including the Mustel Store Museum and Schumacher Mill site, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is our annual contribution to the Cascade Locks Park Association. This money is $15,000. That's the same amount that we've done for the past several years. And it really goes towards some maintenance upkeep type items associated with the Mustel Store facility. We do have Don Gordon from the Cascade Locks Park Association here. Give you a little bit of an update on what's going on over at the Mustel Store.
Thank you, Mr. Fricker. Welcome, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you for having me.
Please let us know what's going on.
Okay, well, it's good to see everybody, and hello to the new members of council. Congratulations. And for those of you who have been long timers, good to see you again. Unusual circumstances. It's been an unusual year, to say the least, as we sit here on Zoom on a council committee meeting. Actually, we've had a good year at the Mustel Store. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to be open, but the path, the tow path, the surrounding parks have been used quite often. We see a lot of foot traffic down there. It's been very good. Unfortunately, just because we're not open doesn't mean that maintenance and everything else ceases to exist. So we still have to make sure that the buildings and the grounds are kept up. We've had a over 30-year relationship with the city. It's been wonderful. Some of you may or may not know that the Mustel grounds and the house and the store are actually city property. So we do this there was an agreement 30 years ago when we put all this together between the city and the nonprofit Cascade Lock Park Association that we would manage the property. And we've shared this partnership for over 30 years now. And we really appreciate everything the city does. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Don. Questions or comments from committee members? We'll begin there. Any other council members who would have a question or comment for Mr. Gordon or Mr. Fricker? Yes, Mr. Swirsky, you're muted. Make sure.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, this is a group with a remarkable longevity and a huge audience. It's a valuable service. When I think of Akron, when I send postcards out to people from outside of Akron, the Mustel Store is really at the heart of Akron. The history behind the Mustel Store, it's just such an important resource. And I'm glad there's competent people who've already have a good track record of taking care of it, and also ability to reach out, and maybe not so much during this epidemic, but to reach out and to engage students from a lot of different kinds of organizations. And it's just something we need to cherish. I guess I like it.
Thank you, Mr. Fursky. Thanks for those comments. Looking around to see if anybody else has comments.
Mr. Chair, Councilman Malik has his hand raised.
Okay, Councilman Malik.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Gordon, for being here. I know this Muscle Store is a great resource that we have. I remember going on a field trip to it just a few years ago when I was in elementary school. But
I'm the only one that laughed.
In terms of it being city property, this may be something that there's been discussion about in the past, but I know that we provide this operating subsidy. Are there other things that the city does in terms of maintenance of the property or anything like that? And then have there been any discussions about Cascade Locks taking actual ownership of the property?
Well, there has not been talk about Cascade Lock Park Association taking ownership of the property, although I have ideas about other organizations that it might fit in with. And that's something that we could always discuss. As far as the maintenance goes, the city has contracted with the Metro Parks for the parking lots there, that they maintain the parking lots. The Greenways handles the towpath. We manage and maintain the store in the house. But this is really the city's main contribution to Cascade Lock Park Association and the upkeep of the Mustle Store.
Thank you, sir. Just a quick follow-up for Mr. Fricker. I know that there are only a handful of kind of direct subsidies that we have, and we review them and make adjustments or as appropriate. I mean, can you just maybe say a little bit about how you think about these kinds of subsidies, and is it on a one-off basis, or is it how do you think about them?
So we are bringing this to you very late in the year. This is one that we kind of we're kind of evaluating as we look to see what the full impact of COVID on our financial picture would be. Ultimately, with the the funding that we received, we felt like that we were in a position to go ahead with this one. We will be potentially bringing a couple others forward here in the next couple weeks. So we feel like, we wanted to kind of take a wait and see approach on these. And, so as I said, I think we'll be bringing some additional ones here in the next couple weeks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any
Chair,
other questions or comments?
this is Linda Mobian, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Amobian, thank you.
No, I move approval, suspension of the rules.
Okay, we have a motion for suspension of the rules. Is there a second? We have a second for Mr. Malik, I believe. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Okay. All opposed? Okay, very good. Don, thank you so much, and we look forward to the time when we can go to the Muscle Store again. We don't know when.
Thanks, everybody, and we appreciate everything you guys do, really. Yep, I know it's hard work, and I just want to say I really appreciate everybody at City for doing what they do on a personal level. That's me just talking as a community person that lives in Akron. Thank you.
Well, you've been rock solid. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, our next item is an ordinance authorizing the Director of Finance or his designee to enter into an agreement with the Akron Summit Convention Visitors Bureau to pay an operating subsidy for the Convention Bureau in order to support the services and offerings of the Convention Bureau to the residents and visitors of the greater Akron area, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is our annual pass-through of the bed tax that we collect within the city that we pass through to the Akron Summit Convention and Visitors Bureau. It's $138,000. We do have Greg Mervis with us, who can provide an update on what's been going on over at the Convention Bureau.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Greg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Steve. Greg Mervis, Akron Summit Convention and Visitors Bureau. I believe I know just about everybody on this call, some from days past and some from newer days. We also manage the John S. Knight Center for you all, as well as Greystone Hall. We've been under this similar style contract in different amounts since 1973. And hopefully you all know that we take very seriously our role as stewards of the funds that you provide to us. As a side note, we just did receive back our unqualified opinion from the state auditor. So we went through yet another clean audit again this year, just reaffirming our stewardship of those funds that you provide to us. On a less than positive note, I think you all know, as many industries have been impacted by COVID, there was about a 50%, 49% drop in employment in the hospitality ecosystem, certainly within the federal, on a national level, state level, county level, and then also on the city level. So our friends and our partners the assets throughout the community are hurting pretty bad. We're beginning to see some upticks. I think a lot of it comes down as a very short statement. A lot of it comes down to travel sentiment, and when people feel comfortable traveling again is when we'll begin to see that uptick. But we continue to push through and utilize the funds that are provided to us and funds that we earn through other resources to push forward the messaging, not only for our local partners, as well as our partners throughout the county. I do feel that as we move into the end of Q1 and the beginning of Q2, we will begin to see a little bit more of a rebound. I do not, and be very candid and realistic, although I am genuinely always optimistic that the remainder of the year will not see significant gains. But as we move into March, April, May is when we'll begin to see gains again. And then as we move later into the year, I do feel there'll be a pent-up demand of people that want to, because we're travelers by nature. We gather. So we travel and we gather, and that's what we're in the industry of doing. So unfortunately, that's been very much halted due to COVID, but I do feel that as we move into next year and later in the year, things will continue to increase and get better there. Happy to answer any questions. Again, we've been doing this since 1973. One is Councilman Malik asked, one thing that we, just a step in front of maybe a potential question, because we are a 501c6, we are not able to receive PPP care funds from the federal government. Our hope is with this new HEALS Act that at some point might, not as a political statement, but that might get passed at some point, that there will be the inclusion of 501c6s in that, which is what we are. So as of right now, we are not able to get federal support outside of any county support from the CARES Act. Our hope is that that will come through in the future. So we very much appreciate the support that you have. And if I may close before, certainly if I may ask any questions, I appreciate your time and look favorable and ask for affirmative vote from each of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure you have keenly felt the effects of COVID. Questions or comments from committee members?
Councilwoman Amobian has her hand raised.
Ms. Amobian?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This question is from Mr. Fricker. How much did we get in bed tax? I'm assuming it was.
So far this year, we've collected about $156,000.
Okay. Is that way below what we normally collect?
It is significantly below what we typically collect, yes.
I thought so. Okay, thank you very much.
I'd be missing someone. Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Freeman.
Mr. Malik.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mervis. I appreciate how on top of things you are, including asking questions answering questions before I even have the chance to ask them. But just want to say, really appreciate the work of the Conventions Bureau. And, one of the things that makes Akron are the events that we have and the gatherings that we have where we all get to see one another. So I hope we get a chance to have those soon. And I think the point that you made is really well taken, that, this is another example of how the federal government needs to come through to, help out all kinds of different industries. And, there's certainly lots of things that we can all try to do, and the administration has been trying to do at the local level. But this is a time when we need our federal government to step up and help folks out.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? Sarah, am I missing anyone?
Everyone is frozen on my screen, so I apologize if I'm missing someone, but I don't see any hands raised.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
Greg,
I
Greg, thanks for
move.
continuing to carry the torch during pretty dark time. So if you can do the work during this time, you can do it anytime.
Right.
We will get across this bridge to the other side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move approval with suspension of the rules.
Do I have Miss Mbobi? I do not see you.
You know, I don't know what's happening with my technology today. I couldn't get on
Okay.
at first.
Okay, please
But
go ahead.
I move approval with suspension of the rules.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign. Okay, Greg, again, thank you. We appreciate what you're doing, and tell your staff that this too shall pass. So
Should pass. Thank you. Thank you for everything you all do too. This difficult time and in the good time. So thank you.
yeah, thanks so much, Greg. All right, we have one final item, and this is an ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent or their designee to enter into a contract or contracts with ASAP companies for the relocation of cubicles and furniture for the tax division and utility business office relocation project and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Shelley Goodrich for the Finance Department. I also have Brad Beckert here today, who is helping coordinate the move for the Tax and Utility Billing Office. We are on a fast pace to get these offices relocated. We did not have time to go out for competitive bids for this move. So we were very intentional about finding a local minority company that could do this large commercial move for us, so we have identified, Brad has met with ASAP moving companies. They're located on Market here in Akron, and they are a certified minority business, and they're going to be able to do the move for us starting next week. So we are on, well, actually this week, Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, half of the office is moving this week. So we are bringing this piece to you guys, hoping that you will pass this to allow us to give this project, to give this move to this company and allow us to get both these offices moved here quickly and get them settled in their new office space.
Very good. Thank you. Questions or comments? Yeah, I know I've watched ASAP for 25 years. Is Mr. Carthorne still with ASAP, Don Carthorne?
I'm not familiar. I didn't work, I just wanted to locate, like I said, a diverse local business that we could use, and they were identified as one that had the capacity. They do work for Kent State University of Akron. I don't know if he's still involved, but with the business, but they have been around for quite some time and have very good references. So we think they would be a great partner for the city in this move.
Been a great local company for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions or comments from committee members or other council members? Probably want to get this passed today. Do you believe, Ms. Goodrich?
Yes, unfortunately, because we are on a fast timeline. If we could please pass it tonight, that would be great.
So I'm looking for a motion to suspend
Mr.
the
Freeman,
rules.
I'd like to make a motion for suspension of the rules with the favorable report.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
I did not. I wish we could decorate that.
All in favor of suspension of the rules, please let it be known by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, very good. We'll get that passed out this evening, and we will close here at approximately 3:17. We'll adjourn. Thanks each and every one of you.
Thank you.